Welcome back. You're watching Startup Street. Now, electric ride-hailing startup Shoffr recently raised over $1 million from its users to expand its teams and offerings as it looks to make a mark in this competitive space. I caught up with its founder and CEO Vikas Bhardiya to talk about this funding and its roadmap ahead. Take a look. Well, there's a new electric ride-hailing startup on the streets of Bengaluru. And if you haven't already seen these black SUVs zipping across town, here's one right behind me. Now, Shoffr recently raised $1 million, but not through a venture capital or a private equity firm per usual, but through a user-only community investment route, which is sort of rare for India. And this is the company's first fundraise since it was founded in November of 2022. So to tell us more about the company and how it plans to take on this competitive ride-hailing market in India, I'm going to be speaking with its founder and CEO, Vikas Bhardiya. Vikas, thank you very much for speaking to CNBC-TV18. It was hard to find you, but I'm glad we finally did. Just start by telling our viewers what Shoffr is all about, the pain point that you're solving for. Interestingly, in your LinkedIn post, you said it's not just a startup, and you've been doing unconventional things from the get-go. What is that? What are you doing differently?
So Shoffr is basically a premium taxi service. We are trying to build the gold standard of rides, and what we mean, Shoffr stands for essentially high quality service, which means that some of the issues that a bunch of users face otherwise, like high cancellations or poor car quality or the AC is not working, those are things that aren't there at Shoffr. And our goal is to provide users with a delightful experience. Like, for example, we can't change Bangalore traffic, but we try and make it as comfortable as we can.
What about surge pricing?
So fares are fixed, it's flat 24/7. So from the same point to airport or, all of that stays the same 24/7.
Tell us about this funding. It's quite interesting. You only came into being a little over a year ago. There's no marketing per se. You operate with less than 10 people. How did you go about raising $1 million?
We got lucky in some ways. Our users loved what we have built. So we had a lot of interest from our guests who reached out and asked if we had any plans to do something like this.
Yeah.
And while that had been going on for a year, it took us some time to build out that conviction in what we were doing and the opportunity ahead. And when we did reach out, when we did decide to do this, they were the first people we thought of because we would like them to also participate in all the wealth creation that Shoffr will engender. It's kind of like saying thank you for helping us grow from where we started, which was with 2 cars.
How exactly are you going to deploy this? You started with 2 cars, but now you're at 75.
Right.
What next? I mean, what are your plans to expand?
The first expansion that's required is that of the team.
Yes. Yeah.
We have, we are still, as you said, less than 10 people, and we have a lot of things to build out before we start expanding to other markets. So the first main focus for the next few months remains in building out a core team.
Okay. So most of the money that you raise will be spent towards?
It will be spent towards, hiring of people and working on a few partnerships that we have in mind. But we are not in a rush to spend that money.
I read your post and you said Shoffr is already profitable.
Yes.
And you're generating $1.5 million of annual recurring revenue currently. At what pace have you seen this growth, and is this likely to continue over the next year or so?
I hope so.
Well, what are you doing to make sure it does?
I mean, everything we do, we think of it from an overall business perspective, right? So while we do want to get to let's say 100 million ARR in a few years' time, there are ways to get there. And right now, we think the best thing for our best use of time and capital is to focus on building out a team. So that is the first thing that we are doing to get there.
Yeah.
We ended we did the first 6 months of operations, which was the first, from November to March 2023, we would have done some 33 lakhs in revenue.
Okay.
And now we are touching the number that you quoted.
Well, Right now you're very much in Bangalore. You did tell us that you plan to expand. What are these cities that you're eyeing, or any plans you could share with us?
I wouldn't want to be honest.
Okay.
But we do have 2-3 cities that we are scoping out.
Okay.
Don't want to just bet on one yet and say that.
Yeah.
But it's fair to say that we have to build out a team first, and then Bangalore, we've already established ourselves a fair amount, and there's a lot of scope here itself. So it makes sense for us to go a bit deeper while exploring other markets.
Currently, you have these 75 cars, and your tie-up is with BYD through Refin, of course, who's been financing you. Are you exploring other partnerships, or will your future cars also come from BYD?
I mean, we are exploring. We constantly explore other partnerships, to be honest. Any new EV car that comes out, we kind of go out and test it out. As of now, we feel like BYD E6, the car that we use, serves the best. It's like the best fit for what we are trying to build. In terms of, Refin has been a great supporter for us throughout, but we do have other partnerships there as well with a few banks.
What would you say the size of the opportunity is? Because what you're operating in is not the typical mass ride-hailing market. You're offering a more premium service. Right. Let's say your competitor, the likes of Blue Smart, they're operating with 100 times the number of cars. They have more than 7,000 in their fleet. You're working with 75. So what is the opportunity you see, and what share of this market do you think you'd be able to capture over the medium term?
Right. So, I mean, as you said, like ride-hailing is like a very huge segment, right? And that overall segment is probably north of $10 billion in just India. And that's just the B2C market. There's a whole B2B market. So when we look at it as like the premium segment, or the value for money segment on the B2C side, which is honestly a very large opportunity. Like, I would say at least more than half of ride-hailing would fall in that category. Not necessarily in terms of the number of trips done, but in terms of the revenue. Outstation is the huge category. Rentals is a very big category, especially in the B2B world. And airport transfer markets, while they dominate the revenue line in terms of the ratio of the rides taken across all of the aggregators and other companies in the space. So that opportunity is quite big. I would say at least $4 billion to $5 billion. And it's going through a very interesting shift because of the EV transition that the whole country is experiencing.
Every ride-hailing startup is talking about, Vikas, and we wish you all the very best with it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, moving on.